This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Now, backup quarterback during the offseason isn't as popular of a position as it is during the offseason, but there is a reason why some attention is put on it. Now, is it sometimes too much? Yes. A lot of the times it's too much. But a backup quarterback serves a role not only as a player, but they also serve almost a coach-esque role when it comes to helping the quarterback see figure out what they're seeing on game day, right? Like, we've talked about different quarterbacks telling us like how important it was that they had certain people not necessarily dressed or ready to play, but just there to help them go through what they're doing. And one of the interesting things that has come out, and we're going to watch the video, is Cam Newton has made it clear that he still wants to be in the NFL, that he's not retired. And he also made it clear that he is willing to be a backup in certain situations. And I think, one, when it comes to Cam, I wouldn't be dismissive of it. Two, another thing is when it comes to Cam is you have to be clear and understand what is his intention with this. Like, what does he look like he wants to get out the rest of his career? Because people are going to have all kind of assumptions, both positive and negative, about Cam. And a lot of people do have unwarranted negative assumptions of Cam Newton because he has flashy hair, or he dresses flashy, or because he stole a laptop in college, or for whatever reason, people hold a bunch of stuff that Cam has never really had an issue with against Cam as if he was some sort of like evil person. Like, it's just like the weirdest. It's him and Odell to get this weird energy where people act like they've been like actually evil. But I would be open to the idea. I'm going to give my thoughts on if I think this is something the Browns should pursue. But the reason I think this is something that might even be on the table is because, well, let's look.
Under my wing and in essence allow them to be the face, but also I just would want to help them in any type of way. Players that I would back up. Number one, I'll back up DeShaun Watson. It goes without saying, me and DeShaun Watson's relationship, he was on my 707 All-Star team. I've grown to admire the person, the athlete that he is, going through a lot of turmoil, but I believe that's behind him. And I know I can provide services for him on the field as well as off the field.
Now that's interesting, right? Because Cam has been to places that DeShaun Watson has not. And Cam has been to places that no other backup quarterback in the NFL can say they've been to. And that is incredibly valuable. How many backup quarterbacks have been league MVP? That's something that DeShaun Watson aspires to be. Cam's done it. Cam knows how to do it. Cam's literally been there. How many quarterbacks want to get to the Super Bowl? I would assume every single one. Cam's done it. Now, didn't play greatest in that Super Bowl. We're not asking Cam to play in the Super Bowl. We asking Cam to impart what he learned on that Super Bowl run. And in a way, as a teacher, the fact that he didn't succeed is actually a little bit more valuable because now he can tell him like what he felt went wrong on that run while he was MVP. There's a lot of value there that I think people are going to immediately overlook because they see the name or hear the name or look at Cam Newton and they get all of these negative emotions about him. But Imagine if this was just a silhouette. We would be like, yes, do you want somebody who's had Super Bowl experience and was a league MVP to back up your franchise quarterback? Now, we know DeShaun Watson is not getting benched, right? And these are scenarios in which Cam Newton can be a backup. There are other scenarios where Cam Newton should be a backup, and I think he's going to talk about them in this video as well. But this is a scenario where his presence isn't a problem, right? If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just signed Baker Mayfield on a prove-it deal, sign Cam Newton, well, then that's a problem for Baker Mayfield, right? Because Baker doesn't have the presence at quarterback to ward off the memory of Cam Newton. He just isn't that good, or hasn't been that good consistently. DeShaun Watson, on the other hand, he has the security of the contract, and he's a former passing leader. He's somebody who was on that trajectory to be an MVP level quarterback before everything happened with him. Nobody's going to be asking for a 35-year-old Cam Newton over DeShaun Watson if he's playing well. That's not something that Cam has to worry about, and that's not something that DeShaun Watson has to worry about. And one thing I've noticed from covering a polarizing figure like Odell is how much of the negativity that's put out there about these players has nothing to do with anything that they did and everything to do with how fans react to them. Right? This happened with Baker Mayfield, and this happened with Odell Beckham. Now, Baker Mayfield is a little bit different. He actually did stuff that kind of pissed off fans. But Odell, publicly at least, he didn't really do anything. A lot of it was people assuming that he felt a certain way or assuming that he didn't want to be here or this or that because the presence of him made some fans feel insecure. And Cam Newton is a similar situation where his presence, his style, his comfort with himself makes people feel insecure for whatever reason. I know somebody's like, I'm not insecure, and leave a paragraph of insecurities in response to me saying that, but that's true. Like, I think those dudes have presences and auras that make people feel insecure in fan bases. And that can be an issue for other quarterbacks because quarterbacks are people just like fans are people. And if Cam makes you feel insecure, he probably makes the quarterback feel insecure unless they are at a special level or they know that Cam is not coming there to do them harm. So I think it's important that he put out this list, but also I think it's important who's on this list to see what Cam's intentions are.
Number 2 person would be wherever Lamar Jackson decides to go. Number 3 will be Justin Fields, another C1N product. Number 4 will be Tua Tagovailoa. Number 5 will be Malik Willis, another C1N All-Star representative. And number 6 was very interesting to me. Any of these rookie quarterbacks, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson, any one of those guys, I would be happy to back those guys up. Who we got? Number 7, Jalen Hurts. Number 8 would be Aaron Rodgers. Number 9 would be Josh Allen. And number 10 will be Sam Howell, another C1N alumni.
So I think that list is interesting. And I think what is interesting about this list as you look at it is he didn't just say like the top 10 dudes in the NFL, look, I can't beat them in a competition, so I would be willing to back them up. This was a list formulated with more thought than that. This was a list of, hey, these are the guys who, if I'm in a quarterback room, I feel like I can add value plus Aaron Rodgers, right? But that's an important thing to be at when you're looking at, hey, can Cam be a backup and will he add value? Because also we know that Cam, I know people think he's cooked, and to a certain point, he might be cooked. He's not Cam. He's not Superman anymore. But let's say he's 60% of what he used to be. 60% of the old Cam Newton is better than any backup quarterback by far. Like if DeShaun Watson, knock on wood, had to miss a game or two this year, you would feel really good that Cam's in there, right? Like, that's the best backup situation you can get. And let's not ignore the Browns' ambitions this year. They're trying to be a Super Bowl contender. And if you're trying to be a Super Bowl contender, you have to plan for every scenario and hope for the best case scenario. Now, Josh Dobbs, I like him a lot. I think he's a great dude. I think he's great for the sideline, but we saw him play in Tennessee in some must-win games. Can't say I was horribly impressed. Just wasn't. Dude's started 2 games in his entire career. He's a good dude. He's fun in the preseason, but if we got a game on the line and DeShaun can't play, and we're playing Josh Dobbs and we could have had Cam Newton, that's going to be something I'm going to think about as, hey, did we put the team in the best position possible? And that's just one element of it, right? That's just the playing element of it. And honestly, that's not the most important element. The most important element is, what value does Cam Newton bring to the quarterback room? And I think that part of it is actually more important than the playing value that Cam Newton brings. And I think he brings more in that than his playing value. I think it would be a great idea. And I know this is not going to be popular to some people, but I think this will be a great idea to bring in Cam to back up DeShaun Watson. Who else knows what it's like to be as polarizing as DeShaun Watson is right now, other than Cam Newton? Cam Newton is used to people hating him. DeShaun Watson is not. It's very clear. He needs somebody to guide him through the ropes. Josh Dobbs does not know what that's like. Josh Dobbs does not know what it's like to want MVP, have MVP aspirations, to play in playoff games. He does not have that value that you can add in there. Also, let's look at the value that Cam adds to the whole team as just a presence. It's similar to how much the locker room loved Odell, right? Cam is somebody that if you are 27 and younger, which most NFL is, you grew up wanting to be. So if Cam tells you to do something, similar to if DeShaun tells you to do something, and you're a young wide receiver, you're going to do it. There's no ifs, ands, buts, and no. This ain't like Case Keenum trying to tell you to do something. This is different. No disrespect to Case Keenum. I think a lot of people are going to overlook the value that Cam Newton brings as just a mentor because they have negative feelings about him. But remember, he's not Terrell Owens. He's not Antonio Brown. He's not a locker room malcontent. He's never been that. But what he has been is a guy who understands what it's like to be the face of a franchise, like DeShaun Watson is trying to be with the Cleveland Browns. What he is somebody who understands what it's like to go out there and not have everybody like you, have people hate you, like DeShaun Watson is in that situation right now. What he did is somebody who understands what it's like to have MVP aspirations and win the MVP and have that pressure of being the MVP, which DeShaun Watson hopes to become. What he is somebody who's reached the Super Bowl based off of his play, was the best player on a team that went to a Super Bowl, which is what DeShaun Watson hopes to be. He has playoff experience, big game experience. He is one of the few people in this league that is accomplished enough at the quarterback position that can actually speak to DeShaun Watson in a voice that commands respect. And while Josh Dobbs might be one of the smartest people, he's not accomplished enough to where what he says is going to command the same respect as Cam Newton. We've done this with Joe Woods and Jim Schwartz. One of the reasons I think Jim Schwartz is going to be better than Joe Woods is not because he's like so much smarter than Joe Woods, but because he's the right messenger and Joe Woods wasn't. Somebody can tell you to do the right thing, but if they've been the wrong person to deliver that message, you ain't never going to listen to them. If an alcoholic tells you to stop drinking, you're not listening to them, right? Like that's not who you want to listen to when it comes to what you want to be. That's not who you aspire to become. But let's say who's somebody who's super successful. Let's say Joe Burrow comes at you and says, hey, man, you might want to consider doing this and this instead of drinking all that. All of a sudden, you're going to listen because he's the right messenger. The message is the same, but he's the right messenger. And while Cam and Josh Dobbs' like messages on the field might not be that different to DeShaun Watson, Cam is the exact right messenger. Let's also not forget that Cam Newton is from Atlanta, the same area in which DeShaun Watson is from. There is so much value on and off the field. I don't think that this is something the Browns can ignore. And I actually think that this is something I'm going to recommend that the Browns do. The Browns should 100% bring in Cam Newton. I think it would be a great idea. And I think a lot of people are going to overlook why. Because they have their own personal feelings about Cam. But I'm not talking about your personal feelings about Cam. All I talked in this video is legitimate things that he's actually done, experiences that he's had. None of that was debatable. That will help DeShaun Watson. I don't see a reason not to do it if I'm the Cleveland Browns. Thank y'all for watching. Have a great day.